In order for government to be of the people, by the people, and for the people, the politics has to get closer to the people. I'm John McCann, and this is the Closer to the People podcast, a production of North Carolina Black Alliance, and I did everything right. That's what gets me about all of this. I did everything right.
I am not a perfect man.
No, I'm not. But in this particular instance, look, I checked all the boxes as it relates to positioning myself to be where I needed to be, which was in courtroom 10A inside the Wake County Courthouse in Raleigh, North Carolina. This is where a judge would consider arguments from lawyers representing incumbent North Carolina Supreme Court Justice Allison Riggs and Jefferson Griffin, who was a judge on the North Carolina Court of Appeals. Riggs and Griffin were on the ballot in the 2024 general election. Riggs wants to keep her job. Griffin wants to take it so much that even though ballots were cast, counted, and recounted, Griffin refuses to say, you know what, I ran, I lost, it's over. No, he claims some 60,000 votes were cast by folks whose voter registrations were incomplete, thus rendering their votes void. So in his mind, it doesn't matter how many times the votes are counted and recounted, saying the winner is Riggs. He feels like he got rigged. Feels like the election was rigged because the votes should not have counted. So that's why I was on the 10th floor of the courthouse that Friday morning to hear the judge say, "Thus saith the court" on this matter. Got there around 8:30 a.m. and was told to get there around 9 a.m. Court hearing didn't start until 10 a.m. So I was good and early. Now, there were some folks there before me. The sheriff's deputy said the courtroom holds 65 people, but I was easily in the top 30 of those in line. So I'm thinking I'm good. A whole bunch of folks in formation behind me. I felt sorry for them because I knew they would never see that judge come in that courtroom in his long flowing black robe. Now, as I was waiting in line, the hour drew closer to the 10 a.m. start time, and I kept noticing people walking past me toward the courtroom. And since this was a courthouse and not the schoolhouse, there was no teacher to whom I could tattletale about so-and-so jumping the line. Now, I would come to find out that some of those people were individuals whose votes were being questioned by Griffin. So they certainly needed to be in the courtroom. Okay, no problem. I get it. And then I got upset because that judge's long flowing black robe, man, I didn't even see the hem of his garment. I ain't get inside the courtroom. I know, right? It was messed up. I did everything right. Got there on time, went through security, unzipped my bag like the security guard asked me to, did all the stuff, and still didn't get in the courtroom. Kind of made me feel like those 60,000 voters who did everything required of them to properly register to vote, only to be told they didn't do enough. Well, later that day, the judge actually sided with them. That's good news. But here's what it sounded like before he made his decision.
Stop the steal! Stop the steal!
Those of us who couldn't fit into the courtroom spilled onto the front of the courthouse, outside on Fayetteville Street in downtown Raleigh. And people like Francine Frankie Hemby Eccles, just out there as a concerned citizen.
Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, we're fighting for our democracy and our constitutional rights. This isn't right. Just because something is legal, which lets us know that we need some policy and legislative changes, it's not ethical. There's no integrity in this at all. He lost, and he needs to concede and let her take her seat. We're out here fighting not only for these type of atrocities, legal atrocities, but we're also fighting to stop things like they're trying to fight early voting. We need to be fighting against that as well. So there are multiple issues. This is just the start. This is the legal version of January the 6th. It's the legal version. Again, just because you're able to do something legally, that doesn't make it right. There's no integrity in this. We teach our children to do what is right. Dr. Martin Luther King said the time is always right to do what is right. And regardless of where you stand, party-wise, anyone that's a U.S. citizen should have a problem with this. Griffin needs to concede, and we need to continue to hold our elected officials accountable, not to try to erode our constitutional rights, our state rights. They should not be attacking early voting. What are you afraid of? If your platform is so helpful to people, then that's what you should stand on. You should not have to steal. You should not have to shorten anything. You should not have to attack rights. You should not be suppressing votes. We need to remind people and have these conversations with our family, our friends, our neighbors, that our 17-year-olds can vote if they are 18 by the election day. So get these young people registered to vote. If you know someone who was convicted of a felony, in North Carolina, they can still vote if they are completely done with everything off their papers. So some of them still don't know that they're able to vote. We need to have these conversations. Educate people. If you move, update your voter registration. So they need to make sure these voter registration forms are correct. They need to register. We have elections in 25 and 26. We need to be corralling people to get out and vote in 25 and 26.
I am Daquan Redfern. I am actually here. I'm just an individual, but I'm representing a lot of our young voters. Not only that, but our young black voters and just our black people in general. I grew up in a household where voting was never really pushed. And so I was that change that I wanted to see in my family. And so going to college, like North Carolina Central University, you see a lot of people who don't understand how important their vote is. And so that is the reason why I am out here. I am out here to stand up for those who need a voice. I am here to show others like our voice matters. They're trying to cancel 60,000 votes. That is not for no reason. That is not for any reason. And most of those are our college students, our young voters. And so that ends now, and it starts with me. My message to my young voters is go use your voice. Your vote is your voice. That is how you make things happen. Do you not see what is going on right now? If a lot of people don't go out and vote, but they complain, and we can no longer afford to complain. We have to put that action to work.
Marcus Bass is the deputy director of North Carolina Black Alliance. After the court hearing, he addressed Daquan and Frankie and the others out there trying to stop the steal.
I have been out here since before the trial began, the hearing began, and there are individuals behind me that were denied access to the courtroom. When we talk about 60,000 voters, that is a very big situation. And it's not just the 60,000 individuals that are impacted. It is 11 million residents across the state who are being denied democracy right now. And to see individuals that got up at 8 o'clock this morning to be here and were denied access, plaintiffs that were not allowed to come in, is shameful. I think one thing that is very clear is that there's a lack of transparency in the way the election is being handled in this moment. 60,000 individuals rightfully cast a vote. Their registration was affirmed by the process in this state. They were casting a vote in November, and now here we are 4 months later, and Judge Griffin is trying to say that their vote should not count. That is unfair. This is not about individuals fraudulently voting. This is about an individual trying to undermine the electoral process of democracy in North Carolina. The right to vote is a right to vote. Somebody should say that. The right to vote is a right to vote. And in this moment, denying eligible voters the right to vote is not what the courts should be hearing in this moment. Gathered behind me are individuals that are not Democrat interested, are not Republican interested. They are interested in the will of the people being cast in a decision called a vote in a process called democracy that should be upheld by the courts today. And so the hearing room did not make room for the millions of individuals that should be paying attention. So we have had this press conference to hear from the individuals that have been inside of this courtroom, from the individuals that have been hearing this court case and talking about enfranchising voters. And in this moment of an attempt to disenfranchise not just 60,000 voters, but 11 million residents across the state, the citizens of North Carolina, the people are saying, not on our watch.
Mary Kay Helling is one of those individuals just trying to make sure her vote doesn't get canceled.
We moved here moved back here 9 years ago. And I voted in all the elections since. I registered, I voted, no problems. And all of a sudden I can't. Frustrating. I shouldn't have to be there. We shouldn't have to be fighting this. Angry because I did everything I needed to do, and it's always been legit until now. The voters speak, and when they speak, you have to take the results.
Now, here's the thing. You are not powerless in this, okay? And we need your power. So let us get some of it when you go online to ncblackalliance.org/count don't cancel. That's a petition demanding free and fair elections and calling on those in our court system to make it happen. Would you do that for us? ncblackalliance.org/count don't cancel. Hey, that's all I got. Meantime, keep in mind that a government of, by, and for the people has to get closer to the people.